In this video, I want to hit on socialization, what it is, what it isn't, and then how to do so productively. There's some important things to consider when talking about socialization, where there are simple mistakes that we can make. I'm in the description portion of this video down below. You'll be able to click a link for a socialization checklist. Obviously, it's not going to include everything, but at least covers a wide array of things to give you ideas on things that you really want to be working on early on with your dog. So first, when we talk about socialization, in terms of development, we have what we call the socialization period. So this is a period where it really carries from 8 weeks to about 13 weeks. 13 weeks is the beginning of adolescence. 8 to 10 weeks is what we could call the fear period or the emotional period. And during this period is when our dog is most likely to create fears or associations to fear and associations that are positive. This is also when we need to be very, very careful. So we're going to be a little bit more strict and a little bit more restrained in how we build those associations at that age. As we get beyond 10 weeks, this is still in that socialization period. So this is when we have the greatest chance of forming positive associations or negative ones with our puppy. And this is also when we have the greatest chance to change their perception of the world around them. So that's a really, really important stage. Can we still socialize after 13 weeks? Absolutely. We're going to run into new experiences throughout our dog's life. But as much as possible, we're trying to get our early socialization really well established, preferably before 6 months. The longer we go, the more the window closes on changing our dog's perception. So what is socialization? Socialization is exposing our dog in a positive manner to hopefully create positive associations, emotionally positive associations, to the world around them. Now, this could also be neutral associations, meaning it's not like the dog's like, oh my gosh, this is super exciting, or oh my gosh, this is super scary. It's more so that it really doesn't change our dog's behavior. So it can be neutral. It can be a really exciting, positive thing. We don't want to create overexcitement, as that sometimes can create some other issues, but I would rather lean towards that than fear. Fear is going to be or what we're trying to avoid as much as possible. So in our socialization, we're exposing our dogs to different people, sights, sounds, textures, environments, and experiences. All right. This can include anything from going into an environment where we might walk over a grate or a surface that's rough or smooth or slick. We get a lot of clients later in life who says my dog won't walk on this certain type of flooring, like linoleum or wood, because they're afraid of it. Obviously, if the dog is older and physically compromised, there are reasons beyond socialization that may exist. But for a lot of dogs, it's simply not being exposed to them. So we want to be getting on slick surfaces, textured surfaces. We want to get on rough surfaces, smooth surfaces, just leafy environments, grass environments, carpet, everything you can imagine, rocks, okay? And I would include going through a creek or water. This is, once again, another experience that's a little different. Just this morning, I went out to a client's home. They really want the dog to learn to get in the pool, but the dog's never really been exposed to water in a positive manner. It's always been grooming, or it's always been, which is something we want to expose them to, but it's never been like going through a creek or a baby pool or playing in that. So the association of this is fun or this is a good experience just wasn't there. So we're going to have a longer pathway to get there because there wasn't those early experiences. Does that mean that's a bad owner? No. But these are problems or these are difficulties that we can save ourselves from by early exposure. So getting your dog, once again, through a creek. Please don't let them drink it, because obviously we don't want them drinking contaminated water and getting sick. But in terms of, we go through a creek, can we splash through puddles? Just be mindful, once again, of ingestation. Can we go out in the rain? Can we go out in different kinds of weather? These are all things early on. If it's raining, I'll go out and play with my dog and splash in puddles and stuff like that, right? Just be wary of standing water because of bacteria buildup. Will I go out and walk through a creek with my puppy or a safe body of water? Obviously, watch for algae blooms and warnings. Once again, be mindful of the health aspect of this. I like to take my dog and get him in a baby pool very, very early on. I love to set up bobbing for hot dogs. Cold hot dogs float. If your dogs can't have hot dogs because they have a sensitive stomach, you can explore some different things, floating toys, stuff like that. Have fun running, splashing through water, running through a sprinkler system. These are all things that I would love for people to expose the dogs early to. So we've talked about surfaces, exposure to water. This is exposure to people. People come in different viewpoints. So I've had clients ask me, I think my dog is racist. Do you think my dog is racist? Okay. And I know, it's a silly thing to even consider. Really what it is just a dog that wasn't exposed to somebody of different skin colors and having a positive experience. Obviously, it looks different. If everybody you've ever seen is a certain skin type or certain skin color, this is going to affect them, right? Just the same as if they've never met a male or never met a female in a positive manner, all right? So often, not all the time, but often people of different genders, different walks of life, we'll say, different backgrounds, are going to have different mannerisms around dogs. Obviously, I have a beard. There's mustaches, there's long hair, there's short hair. And then we have clothing. So we have our winter and summer clothing. If you have a summer puppy, please introduce them to some winter attire, right? We're coming up right now. It's August, so we're coming up on a Halloween. So many people will say my dog can't be out while Halloween's happening. Please, when you're hanging out with your dog and you're playing with your own dog, can you or your family members take a piece of like a mask or a funny hat or a big winter jacket or a scarf or a face mask and continue to create a positive experience so that this is normal for your puppy? Okay, so we want different types of clothing, different looks of humans, skin colors, all kinds of things. People who move in different ways, people who walk with walkers. If you don't have a walker, you see if you can find somewhere where you can observe people with walkers. There's a lot of opportunities out there. A cane, a wheelchair. These are things that I'd like to expose my puppy to. Also, people are going to be on bikes. The earlier that I create those associations positively, people are going to push carts. People are going to roll trash cans. People are going to push strollers. And so I want to expose my puppy to these things as early as possible in a very controlled and positive manner. We'll cover how to do that in just a little bit in a short detail. Other factors of socialization that I want to cover. We want our puppy getting socialized to being touched in various parts of their body for veterinarian grooming handling. I want to get my puppy desensitized or used to being touched by a brush, having their teeth brushed. There's all kinds of flavored toothpastes out there that you can use. Right now, does your dog really need its teeth brushed? Not so much as a puppy, but getting that started earlier is going to help in the handling when they do need that later on. Socialization can also include positive experiences with other animals and dogs. So obviously, I want my dogs to be able to observe chickens. I might not necessarily have them interact with them, birds, small animals, if you have small pets. We want to desensitize or socialize them to seeing cats or experiencing a cat, but we want to be careful about how we do so. Just imagine, once again, what is my dog going to experience in life? I want different heights of surfaces as well. And then one of the other big ones is sounds. Can I take some clanky items and throw a toy through them or spread kibble around? So as the puppy digs for the kibble, is it clunking or squishing sounds, or is it loud clanky noises like metal? There are so many great puppy sound desensitization videos on YouTube now that are free. We used to have to buy those DVDs to hand out to clients or get clients to buy them. Nowadays, that stuff's free. So you can pull up construction sounds. You can pull up, once again, power tool sounds. You can pull up lawnmower sounds and things like that. Now with sound sensitivity, I'll start with our process there. Typically, I like to either put that on when I'm feeding, playing, or having fun with my dog. So we hear the sound and then yay, this good experience, and sound and yay, good experience. And I'm going to start with it on a stereo or on a Bluetooth speaker or something, even on my phone. I'm going to start with that sound being very, very low. Now, if I'm out in an environment trying to get my dog exposure to things and I can't control the intensity of the noise, I'm going to try to control my distance from that. Okay, so if I know that there's a construction site down the street, could I go and hang out a ways away from it and slowly take my puppy closer? Okay, and that might be over the course of weeks or days. Typically, only when our puppy doesn't seem to really care so much about the sound, they might recognize it. But if they're acting shy or worried about it, I'm not going to increase the volume or decrease the distance to that. And that's the same thing that we're going to treat most of this stuff with. We want to introduce the sounds of crying babies. Okay, I might introduce some weird things like baby toys. Silly as that sounds, there's all kinds of things that are going to make noise. I had a dog the other day that we put together a new grill and put it in the yard. And it's like, oh my gosh, what is that? Something I haven't seen in the yard before. But because we did good socialization, it was very easy for us to introduce the puppy to the new item without having that fear carry over, right? The dog was able to get over it quickly. So it's okay if your dog maybe has a fear response at first. That's perfectly normal. And that might be due to genetics or, once again, hereditary traits. In most cases, what I want is socialization primarily to be a quantity of experiences and as many experiences as I can create to those kind of subjects that are positive for the dog or neutral. Okay, what I mean by that is if I introduce my dog to a whole bunch of things, but they're bad experiences, all I'm doing is increasing the chance that my puppy is going to become more fearful of those things. But if I take a progressive approach, for example, I'll use a vacuum cleaner as an example. I might take and have a puppy come into the room and I pull out a vacuum cleaner and it's stationary. And I might walk up and touch the vacuum cleaner and then walk back and feed the puppy. I might even put a little bit of kibble on the ground near or treats near the vacuum. I'm going to walk the puppy away from the vacuum and have somebody turn on the vacuum and immediately turn it off and then feed the puppy. If the puppy has a more larger scale reaction, I might increase my distance, or I might just turn it on and off again and feed, and turn it on and off again and feed. All right, I'm going to get as much space to make that as positive as possible and make it as low intensity as possible as well. Now, can I walk my puppy back up to the vacuum after the sound has been turned off? Feed the dog, encourage him. But I'm not going to force my puppy to go closer than they're comfortable with. We're going to try to just keep closing that gap over time. This might be done over several sessions. Then I might, if the puppy's doing well with the sound and the sight, I might move the puppy away and reward the puppy as somebody turns on the vacuum and moves it one or two swipes and then turns it back off. And then when our puppy doesn't seem to care about that, we might actually keep it on for a little bit, move it, but we're going to keep the puppy at a distance and create that reward, going up, and once again, when it's turned off, reapproach. That's a great way to introduce a puppy to a bike. It's a great way to introduce a puppy to a whole lot of different things. Obstacles are another thing that we want to introduce our puppies to. Obstacles are going to help our puppies develop rear end or foot awareness, meaning that when you see dogs that can go over obstacles for agility or seem very foot aware, seem very confident about going on all kinds of things, climbing up over things, jumping over things like that, jumping into the car, right? These are dogs that have probably been introduced to a fair amount of obstacles early on that they were able to overcome and have a positive outcome too. So these are all things, once again, we encourage about socialization. I'm going to once again put a link at the bottom in the description for a socialization checklist. I know there's so many more things that we could cover. This list can get quite long, but the reality is more important than anything, we're trying to introduce our dogs to as many things as possible, but keeping it positive, okay? Maybe your lifestyle is you want to take your dog out to a patio or a brewery, right? Maybe you want to take your dog everywhere. If you start to approach and that seems overwhelming for your puppy, maybe just sitting outside the patio on a bench or a little bit of distance where they can hear the sounds and draw it in. Maybe you can't quite go down that city sidewalk yet, but can you go and hang out in a green space kind of a distance away from those sounds and noise and traffic? Yes, absolutely you can. All right, but nowadays with as many resources as we have, there's really no reason that we should be putting off socialization. Remember, that window for changing their perception on the world closes as they age. It gets harder, and it's much harder to say, hey, you shouldn't be scared of this when you already are, than helping you not be scared of it in the first place. All right, so it really is about quality of experience over quantity, but we want quality and then quantity to follow. And so I hope that helps. That's my breakdown on socialization tips for puppies.